In Napoleon Hill's Science of Success principles, we're talking about a success system that never fails. How would you like to learn how to use a series of principles in your life that will absolutely guarantee success in any undertaking, any endeavor that you choose? That's what we're working with in the series of 8 lessons based on the 17 success principles that Napoleon Hill was able to discover as a result of interviewing more than 500 of the most successful men of his time or any other time. And the first principle that we'll be dealing with this evening is applied faith. Faith is defined as a confident belief that does not rest on logical proof. And the word faith comes from an ancient word which means to persuade or to compel. Do you know that when you really believe in something, you are working with the universal powers to persuade or to compel those powers to bring forth what you believe? You're always bringing forth what you believe. And if you do not believe in anything, then that's what you're bringing forth, the nothingness in which you believe. And so you can be assured that your belief system is always performing in a mighty way to create in an outer, visible world the sum total of what you have accepted as being true in the inner world of your own mind. Napoleon Hill said, when the mind has been cleared of a negative mental attitude, the power of faith moves in and begins to take possession. And he also pointed out that a negative mental attitude attracts troubles as a magnet attracts steel filings. You've proven that to yourself many days in your life. Remember the time when you awakened in the morning and you were just looking for trouble? Well, you didn't call it trouble, you just were looking to have a bad day. You were not going to settle for a good day. You were not going to let anyone talk you into one. Probably tuned to the radio station where the announcer was talking about what a bad Monday it was. And you nodded your head in agreement, and you attracted to yourself the circumstances that were the equivalent of your belief system in that moment. Mr. Hill also pointed out that opportunity has a way of finding a positive mental attitude. It's true. You probably will not really believe it until you go into action to demonstrate that belief, that great principle for yourself. One of the most important changes that can take place in the life of a human being on this planet is to come to understand that you can change your outer world by changing what you think and feel, the contents of your inner world. Your outer world is a mirror image of the concepts that you hold, feelings that with which you surround the structure of your thought. Napoleon Hill also pointed out that no one is ever rewarded or promoted because of a bad disposition and a negative attitude. And I've mentioned that to you because sometimes we have believed that we got some merit points by having some very strong weaknesses. Some time ago I shared with you an experience that I had with my automobile. It's a very powerful automobile. And one day I discovered that it really was not so powerful at all. I was having trouble getting off the starting block when the light turned green. You know, I was still standing there and the rest of them were either leaving or honking their horns. And you might wonder why it took me so long to make this discovery, but in a moment I think you'll understand it. You see, whatever it was that was happening occurred so gradually that I was not aware of it. Very gradual deterioration in the quality of the way my engine was running. And of course, as soon as I discovered what was happening to me, I took it to the shop, and the mechanics very quickly discovered that my fuel line was clogged, and all they had to do was to clean a certain screen, a filter that was there, and almost instantly the power was restored to the engine. Do you know the same thing happens to us in our experience of living? You have been empowered to live effective, creative, gloriously fulfilling lives. You have been. But somewhere along the way, your belief system has become clogged with fear, with anxiety, with resentments perhaps, with the belief that someone other than yourself is in charge of your life, responsible for the circumstances of your life. And what happens is that when our minds become clogged with the screen of doubt and fear, we shut off the power, the infinite power that is capable of flowing through us. My automobile was designed to have a maximum power efficiency in it. We would call that horsepower. And it is not capable of going beyond a certain measurement of power or of effectiveness. The good news for you is that there are no limits for you. It does not matter where you are, you're capable of experiencing more than you have yet experienced. You are virtually unlimited in your ability to grow, to change, to become, to experience, to understand, to give, to share. You and I will never reach the end of our potential, of our capability. If we desire to begin to put on this inner possibility of success, of creativity, it becomes so exciting. And it has been for me these 32 years that I've been involved with these success principles, to understand that wherever I happen to be at the moment in my understanding or growth or the ability to function, I'm really only standing in a doorway that opens up to a wider vista, a wider view. Never reach the point of saturation or of limitation. And so I'm as excited, perhaps more so today than I have ever been in my life, about the possibilities that exist for me, and certainly excited about the possibilities that exist for you who are here, for the viewer, for the listener. I believe that we have infinite possibilities because we are really related to an infinite intelligence. And the word infinite means having no boundaries or limits. It means more than that. It means capable of being put into a one-to-one correspondence with a proper subset of itself. We are, in this series of principles, dealing with infinite intelligence, which is capable, by definition and by personal experience, of transcribing itself or pouring itself into the finite, into any individualized expression of itself, which each one of us happens to be. And that's what is so exciting. Do not hear me say that of myself I am infinite, because I am not. I have infinite possibilities because I am connected with, by nature, the power that has formed, that is shaped, and that at this moment is sustaining this magnificent universe. And so I am going to do my best in this lesson and the ones that follow to share with you, to explain how faith works, how the other success principles work, and to help us to be able to personally connect with that universal storehouse of wisdom and power. Let me say that the word applied in connection with our lesson tonight means that we are using our faith to connect us with infinite intelligence as we direct our attention to our definite major purpose in life. So the faith that I'm talking about is not the kind of faith that one usually thinks of in terms of theology or religion. The only religion that I intend to deal with is in the broad sense of the general religion of right thinking and right religion. We're talking about universal principles. And I'm not talking about faith as it relates to creed or dogma, but to universal principles that any person can demonstrate to themselves and prove to themselves. And I'm not just going to content myself with telling you to have faith. We're going to be talking about how to have faith. And the first movement in the direction of experiencing how to have faith is to see that the word faith is more than just an abstract idea. It is more than a purely mental conception. Faith is something that is real, tangible, concrete. It is actually a power that you have in your mind that will connect you in a vital way with infinite intelligence so that your world can be changed dramatically before your very eyes. We're talking about something that not only works, but works visibly. You can see, you can experience a movement of faith in your own personal life. We're not talking about blind faith. We're talking about applied faith that changes, that reconstructs, that will bring about an incredible movement in the life of any person who is willing to experiment with these very simple but very powerful ideas. Now, I want you to think for a moment of the term universal mind or divine mind or infinite intelligence, or as in the more orthodox religious terminology, the word God. We're talking about the same presence. We're talking about infinite intelligence by whatever definition that you would use. And so let me suggest that each of us use the words with which we are the most comfortable. Infinite intelligence, I'm sure, is not at all concerned with how we refer to it, but is very much aware of and concerned with how we use or call upon it. I would like to again take a moment to define or to explain infinite intelligence. Observation, experimentation, feeling, prayer, meditation, and thought are all legitimate approaches to infinite intelligence. And if you will look around you when you step through those doorways this evening, tomorrow when you awaken, you will see that you're surrounded, of course, by an external universe which has been brought into existence by something obviously greater than ourselves. Is there anyone here who has ever created a universe? If so, raise your hand. And yet, this world, this smaller part of the universe in which we find ourselves existing, is but a fraction of the larger, visible, and very tangible creation. Well, infinite intelligence is the mind that has created that which exists. David the shepherd sang, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth the handiwork of God." And so we can look around us and see that in nature something has been at work, and that order is the first law of the known universe. perfect orders, the first law. It doesn't take a great mind to examine the universe and see that infinite intelligence has a definite purpose. It apparently has known exactly what it is doing and has known exactly how to do it, and is doing it in its own time, on its own schedule. The sun, the moon, the stars, the seas, the hills, and the plains, are not these, O soul, the vision of him who reigns? Said Lord Tennyson. My point is that there's something going on out there, and that we're part of what's going on out there, but that whatever it is that's going on out there has an infinite potential in terms of possibilities that exist for us in here, inside ourselves. We live in a universe of infinite power. And just as we see that power displayed in the visible universe, so can we begin to imagine that that same power and intelligence is a potential factor in the invisible or unseen world that is in us and all around us. And that success, happiness, peace, fulfillment that you and I seek is nothing more than you and me coming to understand how to rightly relate ourselves, or to tune in and receive the knowledge from a plane that is above our ordinary senses. There's more to us than meets the eye. There's more to us than the ordinary. We are extraordinary beings, and there have been many moments in your life in which you have experienced something greater than yourself, understanding that transcended your normal hours and days, feelings that lifted you and inspired you, and there have been moments in which you were absolutely sure that all was well, and would always be. You've had those touches of higher consciousness, higher awareness. And this is because you have been ingeniously equipped by the Creator with certain faculties which will enable you to enter into a definite positive relationship with this infinite power and to adapt it to the fulfillment of its own intelligent purposes in your life. Wow, think about that. Think what that could mean to a person. It would mean that suddenly that person, you or me, would be saved from the self-imposed limitations which we had discovered ourselves in the past. And so this is the definition of faith which I would share with you. Faith is a state of mind which you may develop by conditioning your mind to receive infinite intelligence. And applied faith is adapting the power received from infinite intelligence to your own personal, definite, major purpose in life. So that the power that has formed the universe will begin to reform your world, reshape your world. Further believing and understanding that this is the natural order of things. It is not an unnatural order at all. This relationship that I'm referring to, which becomes our greatest asset, is not unnatural. It is unnatural for a human being to be distressed or diseased or dismayed or disturbed. That is unnatural. It is unnatural for a human being to be confined, whether in a prison, whether in a scale of life that binds his or her very soul, or in a belief system that limits the infinity of one's own inner nature. That's what's unnatural. So breaking free, breaking out is natural, and that's why these 17 success principles, and most particularly the one that we're working with tonight, the two, applied faith and going the extra mile, are so natural to us and so exciting when we begin to see and understand that they're designed to break us free from our self-imposed limitations. There is a life energy, an infinite energy, that can and does flow through us and This inflowing power has no limitations or defects. This life energy flows into a positive, receptive mind in a continuous stream. And that's why a positive mental attitude is so very important. Whatever we accept, whatever we love, cherish, or desire with a burning desire and hold constantly in our thoughts as our own, finds fulfillment in our lives. You are like a prism, and infinite energy is flowing through you like the sunlight does through a prism. Have you ever held a glass, a prism, and watched the sun break forth in its fractured colors? And have you ever focused the sun through a glass and watched and felt all that energy come into a focal point that becomes a burning point where the power of the sun is focused? Well, when your desire is focused in the same way, you will discover that your mind becomes a prism, and the imperfections that have darkened your consciousness will be burned away with that very same principle. Napoleon Hill pointed out that the successful person keeps his mind fixed on what he wants and not on that which he does not want. And for very obvious reasons. If we think about what we don't want, that's exactly what we get, because we are focusing the power of the universe on what we don't want. And we have made a commitment. What the mind of man conceives and believes, feels, envisions, is set into motion by infinite intelligence. Not just limited human intelligence, infinite intelligence. The greatest and most resultful of all prayers are those offered as gratitude for the blessings that we already have. One of the most powerful things you and I can do is to be grateful for what exists, and at the same time join that prayer with the prayer of gratitude for what hasn't happened yet. Think for a moment. Imagine I'm grateful for all the things that exist in my life, even the problems that I have. Because I've come to believe that contained within every difficulty, every problem, every defeat is the seed of an equivalent or greater good. And I just discovered that I had a problem I did not know that I had until a few minutes ago. My normal reaction would be to say, well, I've got a problem, and to have a negative emotional response. But suppose that I've learned, that I've grown enough through the practicing of these success principles to come to understand that this is merely a glorious opportunity to experience an equivalent or greater good. So I have a very large problem, wonderful. It means I have a very large solution that's on its way, right? Right, that's right. And so I will be grateful for all the good that exists, most particularly for this problem, because it is designed for my growth, for my learning. It has been brought into my experience so that I can demonstrate the power of infinite intelligence working in my life to do the creative things that it has promised that it will do. So I'm grateful for what is. But I'm also grateful for what is about to be, for the good that's going to come. That's a dynamite attitude. It's a wonderful attitude because it really works. Particularly does it work if you know what you want from life. You know what you want from life? Most people do not know what they want from life, and that was brought out 2 lessons ago when we were talking about your definite major purpose in life, coming to determine what do you want to do with your life, and then what are your sub-goals, your hour-to-hour, your moment-to-moment, your day-to-day goals. Here's a tremendous idea that I suggest that you think about tonight and tomorrow. The creative force of the entire universe functions through your mind when you establish a definite purpose and apply your faith to its fulfillment. When you know what you want to do with your life, when you have decided the main course that your life will take, and then when you apply your faith diligently, persistently, creatively, regularly, letting nothing stand between you and your commitment, the most amazing things will begin to happen, particularly if you'll spend an hour, perhaps a little more a day, in silent meditation, conditioning your mind, practicing believing, practicing feeling, visualizing, recreating in your mind the picture, the way you wish your life to be. Remember that I told you that the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a real or an imagined experience, and therefore what you imagine is real to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind then recreates as an outer and visible, experienceable world what has taken place in secret. There's no secret part of your mind. Cannot be. Will not be. When the plan comes through to your conscious mind, and it will come when you begin to work with these principles, you will come to know. It will be revealed to you the direction that your life is to take. Then don't hesitate, don't argue, don't challenge, don't worry, don't wonder if it's right. Act on it. Go into action, and you will experience that there will be an immediate reaction from infinite intelligence to your action. Shakespeare said, "Our doubts are traitors, and make us lose the goods we oft might win by fearing to attempt." Our doubts are traitors. And they keep us from going into action to do the things that need to be done by us. And another negative experience that so many of us have had has been to blame others for our own experience in life. One of the most important things that you and I can do is to forgive all other persons, to set them free from any injustices that they might have done to us, whether real or imagined, does not matter, but to set them free, realizing that the freedom that we are giving to them is the freedom that we truly give to ourselves. Faith is the strongest power known to man, and fear is the worst enemy of mankind. Faith and fear cannot exist in the heart at the same time. And I would like to take the next few moments of this lesson to talk about our fears, not so that those fears will come alive, but so that we can face them and, in the process of facing them, begin to eradicate them. Nearly everybody in the world suffers from one or more of the 7 basic fears, and some people suffer from all of them most of the time. The first basic fear is the fear of poverty. And the fear of poverty is the most destructive of the 7 basic fears. It heads the list because it is the most difficult to master. Nothing brings so much suffering to humankind as poverty. Poverty brings so much humiliation to the human race, and one of the symptoms of poverty is the lack of ambition. Lack of ambition is shown by acceptance of whatever life hands out without challenging it. There are people who appear to be mentally and physically lazy when it really is not laziness at all. It is the inertia that takes place when one lives in the fear of poverty, or the experience of poverty, which has caused the mind to be filled with fear. There's something that happens in the human psyche that triggers a feeling of what's the use, why try? And so we don't try. Fear is not only demoralizing, it immobilizes us. Failure to make decisions is also one of the symptoms of poverty. And what this means is that we permit other persons to make up our minds for us. We surrender our most precious prerogative and divine right, which is the privilege of controlling our own thoughts, and in so doing, controlling our own lives. A person with a poverty consciousness makes excuses for their failure, offering alibis as to why others have passed them by, or even in advance of an experience, explaining very carefully why they will not succeed. Have you ever explained to someone before something happened why you could not do it, why you would not make the grade? To let them know to not expect too much so that when you failed, they would not experience disappointment in you. Finding fault is one of the symptoms of poverty. And of course, a total negative mental attitude, putting things off. Some people have the habit of never doing today what could just as well be put off until tomorrow, and that includes dodging responsibility of all kinds. The second basic fear is that of criticism. There are people who spend their lives trying to please everyone with whom they come in contact and end up pleasing no one, most particularly themselves. The fear of criticism. Have you ever been seated when the orchestra began to play and there's no one on the dance floor? And you said, well, let's wait until someone else is on the dance floor. What will they think of us if we're the first ones on the dance floor? Have you found those moments when you stood waiting for someone else to make the first move? I think all of us have had that experience, and we still look around to see what people think of us. And it's important what people think of us, but I'm talking about the fear of criticism, which is so paralyzing. If we are really afraid of criticism, we end up not doing anything. No one can criticize us because we just don't do it. But what happens to our lives? What happens to this infinite intelligence that is within us, that is seeking to express itself through us as active, alive, creative human beings? Because that's what you are. You are that kind of creation. Oftentimes, our fear of criticism has come from the cruelest critics in our lives, and by that I mean our relatives, people that we have grown up with and around who were well-meaning but surely did not understand the experience that took place in us when they shamed us or made fun or criticized or blamed or accused. One of my favorite statements is by Napoleon Hill when he said, "If you must speak ill of another, do not speak it. Write it in the sand near the water's edge." Don't you love that? Strangely enough, criticism is one form of service which nearly everyone is willing to render willingly, and usually without charge or even an invitation. And notice that when you got it, it was always for your good. Do you know that people go to ball games, pay their way in, so they can sit on the sidelines and criticize the umpire? Listen to them. Next time you listen to a ball game, you'll hear the critics there. Or the players. Someone that never caught a pass in their lives. Or the last time they reached for a fly ball 27 years ago, they dropped it. And hear the reaction when the right fielder doesn't quite make the catch. The critic that's always looking around for something to criticize. The third basic fear is that of ill health, and this fear is related to another fear that will come later in this series, the fear of death. The fear of ill health is the power that we give the body over the mind, rather than the power that we should give the mind over the body, and comes as a result of believing that we are our bodies. Let me assure you that you're not that body that you're wearing. That's merely an instrument or a cloak that you have as a temporary garment, but it is not you. But if you should believe that your body is you, then the fear of ill health, or ultimately the fear of death, would be a living experience. Because we have a fear of ill health, many people on this planet have developed what Napoleon Hill calls the drugstore habit. And he reminded us that good health does not come in bottles. Self-pity is a symptom of the fear of ill health, the habit of feeling sorry for yourself and playing sick. I can remember a time in my young life when I played sick so that I would not have to assume my responsibilities. And then I played a little sicker so that I would not have to. And I even made the gestures, my body language and the sound of my voice was to let you know just how badly I really felt. I wanted you to really understand, to feel sorry for me, and to understand why I was not doing the things that I needed to do. And of course, drinking and taking of drugs is also one of the symptoms that comes from this great fear. The fourth basic fear is the loss of love. And the primary symptom is jealousy. This is the most dangerous of all the fears. And if you don't think it's dangerous, pick up today's newspaper. The fear of the loss of love. It is indigenous to the human condition, but it is not necessary. See, the fears that I am describing to you are not natural to our higher condition. The fact that all persons are subject to them does not mean that all persons have to live with them for all time. You can begin to relieve yourself of these fears the moment that you begin to believe that you can. The fifth basic fear is that of old age. And what's so interesting about this fear is that Napoleon Hill and others have made surveys that show that people become more effective in life as they grow older. As a matter of fact, most people do not reach their peak until after their mid-50s, the peak of their powers. Now, don't hear me say that older folks should be out jumping over 7-foot fences. That's not what we're talking about. But we're talking about your inner state of mind, the state of your beingness. Your body might grow older, but what does that have to do with you if you are connecting yourself with infinite intelligence? Your understanding, your wisdom, your ability to form right relationships between yourself and other persons, your ability to become creative and successful, effectively successful at whatever it is that you choose for yourself, that capability advances with the experience that you call age. It's not diminished. The sixth basic fear is the loss of liberty. And it shows up primarily in the fear that people have of losing their jobs, the fear of the loss of economic freedom, or the fear of the loss of the security that comes in a relationship, in a marriage. And the seventh, the last basic fear is that of the fear of death. And this is a fear that everyone needs to face. No one can face this fear and conquer it for you, but you can if you will face the fear of death. And infinite intelligence, through meditation and prayer, through communication, will reveal to you, to your own satisfaction, that there's no reason for the fear of death, that you will not taste or experience that which we called death. In closing on this section about basic fears, I would remind you that anything you fear will follow you in your life until it ultimately gains on you and catches you. Was it Satchel Paige that said, "Don't look back, something might be gaining on you"? If you have fears, you can look back and they are gaining on you. It was Job who proved that fear is a negative mental power. He said and proved that everything that he feared had come upon him, and then he discovered the secret of eliminating his fears. You see, it's very important that we eliminate our fears, because as long as there is any fear left in us, we have separated ourselves from our ability to contact and to experience infinite intelligence. Do not believe that your fears are rational, or that they're well-grounded, or that they're normal, because they're not. They are the most destructive aspects of the human mind. So be prepared to attack them and to defeat them, because they will always be with you, creating their counterparts in your life until they are eradicated. And they can and will be eradicated if you will make their removal one aspect of your definite major purpose in life. The fourth step toward riches, and the fourth principle I would like to share with you, is that of going the extra mile. Andrew Carnegie once told Napoleon Hill that the greatest day of his life was that day on which he discovered how much space he could occupy, how much goodwill he could command by the simple means of rendering more service and better service than he was expected to give. It changed his life. Every time you go the extra mile, said Mr. Carnegie, you place someone under obligation to you, the sort of obligation which must and will be repaid willingly from one source or another. I hope you heard me, the very depth of your being. Do not hold yourself back any longer. Whatever it is that you're doing that is constructive, that is creative, go the extra mile. Don't just go the extra mile. Go the second mile. Do it with all of the energy, with all of the power, with all of the love, with all of the commitment that is in your being. Do it. Be it. Share yourself. Napoleon Hill said, and I agree, I have never enjoyed a major favorable break which I did not create for myself by going the extra mile. It's true. You want the breaks that life has to offer you? You're not going to find them sitting in the corner, sucking your emotional thumb, waiting for someone to come and discover you there. The corner is not the place to be discovered. Right out where the action is, out front, up front. Being the leader, the one who is the most alive, the most excited, the most committed to be of maximum service to God as they understand God, and to the people around them. The ones who do not quit, the ones who get there first and leave last. Show me a person who has to look at their job description to know what it is they're supposed to do, and I'll show you a failure. Show me someone that is concerned about the clock. I'll show you someone that will never reach the top. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, men suffer all their lives long under the foolish superstition that they can be cheated, but it's impossible for a person to be cheated by anyone but himself. As for a thing to be and not to be at the same time, there's a third silent party to all our bargains. Infinite intelligence is the third silent party to all our bargains. The nature and soul of things takes on itself the guarantee of the fulfillment of every contract, so that honest service cannot come to loss. If you serve an ungrateful master, serve him the more. Put God in your debt. 32 years ago, I walked into a library, concerned about the direction that my life was going, concerned about the fact that I seemed to be serving in a position in which there was no recognition and not much hope. And I reached on a shelf and pulled a book of Emerson's essays, not knowing what was in my hand, and opened it to that statement. If you serve an ungrateful master, serve him the more. Put God in your debt. Every stroke shall be repaid. The longer the payment is withholden, the better for you. For compound interest on compound interest is the rate and usage of this exchange. And sometimes the law of compensation seems to yield a slow return from the habit of going the extra mile. Let me assure you of something. It always comes, heaped up, pressed down, and running over. And it always comes in the exact moment that you need it. It selects its time. It rewards the person who goes the extra mile. It honors that person. It sustains them. What you give will be given back. And what you withhold will be withheld. And so you, my friend, if you withhold your life from others, if you withhold your joy, withhold yourself, you are in essence holding yourself back. There's only one person that can defeat you. Only one. Only one. When you practice these principles in all of your affairs, you can be sure that the universe responds. Not only with infinite power, but with infinite intelligence. And what's even more rewarding, soothing, with infinite love. And that's the way it really is. The lesson that you have just heard is not intended to be the complete in-depth understanding of the principles that were discussed. It's intended that this lecture be listened to over and over again. You can gain true understanding of the principle by studying it, however, in the PMA Science of Success course. This will allow you to recognize, to relate, to assimilate, and put the principles into action in your own life towards whatever goal you are seeking.
This program is continued on the opposite side.